Hey guys, Duke here for the Intimacy Liberation Army, and today we're continuing our self-awareness, Know Yourself series with how self-awareness prepares you for healthy dating. If you guys don't know, I'm doing a whole series on self-awareness, knowing yourself and all that for the month of January 2025 because I'm intending to leave my entire uh, compendium of knowledge in my brain from 15 years of dating coaching out into the world so that if I get hit by a bus, you guys are all in the benefit mode. Writing a book and about to finish up the last manuscript for the release on February 1st. So if you want to do the pre-order for that, links in the description below. Today we're talking about how self-awareness prepares you for Today we're talking about how self-awareness prepares you for healthy dating. And what I mean by healthy dating is dating that's fun, dating that's enjoyable. I don't know if I've, in this month, done the whole definition of dating thing yet, but basically what dating is seeing if somebody's qualified to be in your life to become more and more intimate. There are all ends of the dating pool. We got the guys who just want to get laid a lot, and they lacked a lot of it when they were in high school and shit, and so they want to make up for that and make sure that they're not missing anything when they get into a long-term relationship. There are guys who just want to have a woman carry all the bullshit they can't do because they don't have their own self-awareness, so they don't. They just delegate it off to other people. There are the guys who want a full-time partner, long-term, fully deep and intimate, and have children and the whole deal. And all of these different levels of dating require you to have standards and to filter out the people that aren't interested in whatever level of dating you're interested in. I got a client of mine who his initial reason why he hired me was because he wanted to have some sexual variety before he got married. He lives in a country where he has arranged marriage, like his parents are setting him up with a wife, and he's going to end up moving back there and then knocking her up and having kids and doing the whole family integrated thing. He said, "Well, while I'm here, I would like to, get my game good and have some sexual adventures, but eventually I'm just going to end up, doing the traditional thing." And I was like, "Okay, fine, we can do that." And so he's off and telling stories and, going out to the clubs and meeting all sorts of new people. But his goals are just to have a good time, right? And engage in fun college shit that he never got to do. And so when he goes out and he meets people, it's important for him to be honest about his future goals. He doesn't want to project and promise anything that he can't fulfill on because his loyalty to family is pretty hardcore. So he's not going to just fall in love with some random human and then forsake his entire life path and mission. He's going to have a good time, and if they want to carry it on long term, I stress the importance that he needs to not play. He needs to not act as if he was going to, future project anything and let people down. And he agreed with that, and he's currently executing the strategy. So, especially if you're out in kind of the bar scene or the happy hour scene, and you get the alcohol in the system, and then sometimes you try to be something that you're not. And there are guys who would love to just settle down, have a woman that they can trust, and get married, and never have to deal with the whole dating bullshit ever again. And then when they're out and about, they try to pretend like they're players. I had a buddy of mine who, when I started the whole working as a professional pickup artist, I would go out and I'd just meet new girls every fucking night, and to varying levels of intimacy and connection. But he would always pretend like he was, top of the line player, and all the tropes that he had learned from books and movies and locker room talk, he would just put them out into the world as if they were real. And those of us who did it for real, who uh, who went out every night and banged herself up against the social issues. We learned a lot about ourselves when we learned how to be humble, because it's fucking brutal out there. And, I ended up becoming just super, super honest and forthcoming with virtually everything. I never did. I was never really good at the whole lying, misleading thing. Uh, there's a lot of cool manipulation stuff you can do on the base where you can be fully honest and yet have somebody decide to ignore their normal rules because you're an exception, but they also don't have any weird expectations for you for the future. You're not letting anybody down. You're not destroying people's dreams. Like I don't know if I want to say ethical, but it was much more in line with how I dealt with things, and I didn't want to fucking run around lying to people and getting their hopes up and whatever. I didn't want any of that shit. So it's important that when you go out there and whatever goals you have, you want to get married or you want to run the field or whatever, you need to be very self-aware of what you'll put up with and what you won't, what your standards are and what they're not. Because if you meet somebody else who is attracted to you and then they're just kind of hopeful that you fit into their mold, you can be a very big red flag in their life, where it's not necessarily, universally negative, but they're projecting all sorts of expectations onto you that you're not going to fulfill, right? And so that leads to a lot of letdown and pain and hurt and trust erosion and all that. So it's super important for you to be self-aware when you go out and date, and because it's going to help you have a lot more fun. You won't have to deal with as much of the bullshit. You won't have to deal with as much of the drama. And so this thing is about how self-awareness can prepare you for that kind of healthy dating. And that's what I mean by healthy. I don't mean like there's like a right and wrong. There are plenty of people out there who just like to hook up and have, pass, what's the word? Pass through, what's the word? Momentary sexual relationships. And there are some people who, want to play power games for the whole time and never really let their true selves open. And there's places in the dating world for all of that stuff. The problem is not when two skilled manipulators come together and they start sparring and they understand that they're on the same level. The problem is when a skilled manipulator and a super hopeful, naive person get together, and then all these expectations are dashed and destroyed by this person, right? Whether they're a narcissist or whatever. Like, it's just a mismatch of skill sets. Like, you don't send somebody in need of, say, fire insurance right now to a cutthroat insurance salesman, right? Like he's just going to run them over, and that mismatch creates a lot of bullshit. And so I definitely, when I was a pretty hardcore on the scene player guy, I definitely went for the pretty hardcore on the scene player girls, right? Like I didn't like destroying innocent women who just hadn't seen the level of craziness that communication can get to. And so one of the ways that I kind of saved my soul in going through the process of learning dating skills and studying with the best pickup artists in the world and flying all over the world and trying things in all these different places was I was pretty honest with myself first and then honest with everybody else around me. And it cost me a lot of conquests or sexual interactions for me to be honest with somebody about my intentions, my goals, and my current trajectory. And but it also cost me, like, it saved me all the drama and all the pain and the feeling like super guilty because I was hurting somebody else or whatever. Like I didn't have a lot of that, and most of the girls that I maintained long-term sexual relationships with, over 6 months, most of them, they went through a phase in their life. They wouldn't date me again, but they don't have anything bad to say, right? They're not like talking shit and like thinking I'm a horrible piece of shit. and that kept me feeling confident as I moved through life, and I was able to grow like real self-confidence, move towards more secure attachment, and actually make my life better through the whole process of dating. And I had a whole lot of fun doing it. One of my mentors, Owen Cook, he says that dating is one of the only things that you can do that even when you fail, as you're learning the skill set, it's still a hell of a lot of fun. And yeah, it was a great time in my life. I don't think I would have lived my life differently, looking back over the last 15 years. Plus, I'm cut out for this shit. Like I'm gonna die teaching this shit. So, hopefully not soon. Anyway, I ranted and raved too much. I'm going back to the actual purpose of this video. Most of you already clicked off already. If you're still here, you're probably listening to me passively because this is, I think, my 14th video of the year, and I probably won't get any good at this kind of presentation until somewhere 6 months in. That's what Alex Ramosi says. So I'm just going to keep doing it. If you like that, please click subscribe because I do it every goddamn day. Anyway, 4 ways self-awareness helps prepare you for healthy dating. 1, you recognize red flags early. Self-awareness helps you identify unhealthy behaviors in others. And when I'm talking about unhealthy, I mean more like incompatible. There was a time where I spent a lot of time looking for girls who were crazy as fuck, and I mean not in a pejorative way. Like they were the ones that attracted me. Like there's a porn site. It wasn't porn. It was I guess it's porn, but like. It's not hardcore. It's like bourgeois type photos, whatever. There's a whole group of girls called Suicide Girls, and they're like just alt girls, tats, fucking nose piercings, no dads, the whole deal. And those are the kind of girls that I fucking just I'm in it. And it's not just because I like the look and I really like the scene. I was a little industrial kid when I was in high school, but it's because I really liked whatever trauma that they went through to individuate themselves the way that they did was the same or was a complementary trauma that I went through to individuate myself the way that I did. And I really was, super. I mean, I'm still like attracted to them, but very often I can't hold relationships with them anymore because I'm too steady. Like I'm not bombastic enough anymore to carry I don't match their crazy anymore. So the when I say red flags, when I say you can recognize red flags early, the more you're self-aware about what you believe, what your values, what your standards are, what you want in the future, how you want to project and convey that, the better you're able to see how other people are not compatible or they're misaligned to your goal sets. And if you notice when somebody consistently doesn't get you, that is a red flag for your healthy dating life. Right? I'm not saying red flags like, oh, he's a narcissist. Oh, she's controlling. Oh, she's bipolar. None of this judgment bullshit. What I mean is like a red flag for you, like turn around and go a different path in your dating thing, is because it's not going to be fun. It's going to cause a lot of problems, and you guys aren't going to work out anyway. Most of the times when you're not compatible, like when you have competing worldviews of the world, then it's just not going to last. Like you're not going to be able to grow, right? And the way I look at dating is if you're not growing, if you're not trying to find a deeper connection with the people around you, you're going to have to start over an awful lot, which you can mitigate by dating multiple people at the same time, because then you can, sort of 5x or 10x your learning curve, especially in the beginning. But I look at it like playing a video game, like, and only playing level 1 over and over and over and over again. Like once you learn how to go in, talk, be something that's attractive, and then pull the girls that want to have an adventure. Once you figure that out, like it's just like playing Mario Brothers 1. I'm dating myself, but like playing the first level of a video game over and over and over again and never like doing anything else, right? Um, and for me, that's a red flag now because like I think dating, just like every other skill set, should be expansive. Like you will stop when you're satisfied. Like some of us, like I'm learning French right now because my business partner is French, or he speaks French. He's from Switzerland, and I don't ever think I need to be fully fluent in French. I don't need to pass any level 3 naturalized language tests. I don't need to be a full blown polymath. I don't care about that shit. But I would like to understand what he's saying when he's speaking at a normal speed. So, like, there's going to be a point where I just don't need to grow learning French, right? But until then, like, I'm going to keep making progress. I don't need to be saying the same fucking things for the all the foreseeable future. I'd like to keep growing and keep moving. Same thing in sports, same thing in business and whatever. Like, I don't want to make the same money I'm making next year or deliver the same material I did last year, right? I want to grow. I want to expand. I want to meet more people. I want to, make a bigger impact or make a wider impact at least. And so, for me, like a red flag for a relationship is being so incompatible that you guys aren't going to work. You guys aren't going to grow. You guys aren't going to learn things. Um, a lot of the people that hire me in the beginning, they don't give a fuck about what the other person is, at their soul level or at their identity level. They don't give a fuck. They just think, oh, she's hot. I would like to put my penis in and around her everything. And but you do that a few times, and then you realize that you should probably look for some deeper level of compatibility because it's just not fun anymore after that, right? Like you can, yeah. Anyway, so red flags are noticing incompatibility, and the more you're self-aware, um, the better you can gauge, the more stable your vantage point is to gauge that kind of incompatibility. Number 2 is very related. Self-awareness can help you prepare you for healthy dating by being able to attract the right partner. Like I was saying earlier before, if your goals are just to go out, have a good time, run a bunch of music festivals with some girls and maybe hook up every once in a while, like that's a fucking decent goal and it can be a whole lot of fun and match that part of your lifestyle. But if you're going to come with a certain level of qualities that are attractive, and somebody is going to be your type. They're going to find you attractive, and then sometimes they will be attracted to you, but you guys are not compatible, and so you will let them down and drag them through a whole ringer of bullshit just because you're trying to go live your life. And if you are not self-aware and understanding kind of what your values, your priorities, your future projections are, then you're going to not be able to communicate to them, and then they're going to get strung along for longer than they need to. And if you connect with them, sexually or in a power dynamic way or whatever, that isn't serving you both, and it's doomed for failure and doomed for drama, and there's going to be a lot of bullshit because, yeah. And I think that a healthy dating life has less bullshit and more lessons. So, attracting the right kind of partner. If let's say that you really value honesty and communication, if you meet somebody who is dishonest off the bat, then you don't date them, right? Because you're going to be frustrated constantly by their worldview and their way of being off into the future, which is relatively unhealthy because you're spending too much of your time mitigating and dealing with bullshit rather than growing or learning or other things that make you a better human when you come out the end. And there are some people, like for instance, there's this girl I know. She's fucking super hot. Everybody loves her. She's young. She's got that youthful vibe. But she has very good control of her feminine energy. She's a straight seducer. Like she's a manipulator, full blown. But she's like her personality type and the way that she views the world, she is perfectly fine, just straight, bold-faced lying to everybody around her. Like, she has no moral problems with it. There's no issues. And I've known quite a few people like this who are just kind of like wired that way. Like, yeah, I think they would like to be honest sometimes, but like, there's no barrier to like just telling whatever the other person wants to hear. And in fact, to them, it seems like that short-term management of the relationship and avoiding conflict is more important than any sort of personal integrity of honesty or truth, right? They view themselves as what do you call it? Like, they've got to do the best they can with the tools that they have, and they don't really give a fuck if like the grand total of the group has some sort of moral leaning towards honesty. Like, she's just a liar, right? Once I figured that out, I was like, oh, you're just like this. So, like, basically, I don't have to judge you. I just don't have to pretend that everything that comes out of your mouth is truth, right? When you say you're going to do something, you're not necessarily going to do it. I just know to expect that from you, and that's fine. And that was great, except for the fact that if I ever wanted her to do something with me and make plans in advance, it was guaranteed to not be planned in advance. She was much more of a spontaneous human, right? She really liked following her emotional spiking, and she would be like, that sounds fun. She'd show up and just show up 180% better than every other girl there, but only for as long as she felt like she was cool, right there, and then she would just poof and disappear, and then not text you back for fucking 5 weeks. And once I figured that that's who she was, then I was no longer having any problems with it, because I was like, I'm not supposed to expect her to be a certain way just because I would do that. She is that way, and we're incompatible in this way, so I'm not going to make those expectations because that'd be dumb. So, if you are seeking a partner who is always going to make plans with you and keep their word or whatever, and then they start showing that they're not, your self-awareness of understanding why you have those values is going to be much better in your communication, and it's going to be much better in your personal justification to move on, right? Like, when somebody just doesn't tick your boxes, you don't have to judge them and villainize them or demonize them or what's the word? Vilify them, right? You just, no, they don't fit. Cool, next, right? And having that self-awareness and knowing why you believe what you believe or why you want what you want, then you can next pretty easy. Unfortunately, that usually comes through not from all this stuff that I've been talking about over the last few days of journaling and intention setting and all that stuff, but through experience and meeting people who don't mesh with you and wondering why and trying to figure that shit out. So, the more you're self-aware, whether it's through experience or introspection, you're going to be able to attract the right partner and make dating a lot more fun as you move through it. Third way self-awareness helps you with your healthy dating is you're going to develop a lot of resilience, emotional resilience. Because if you can start to see the reality of the fact that we're all the same. We're all one. The universe encompasses us all. There's all God within us and all that, right? But like, we are also very different from the next human. Even if we're only, 1% different, that 1% is pretty fucking vast, right? And sometimes you go out, a lot of the early pickup guys, they'll come in and they'll be like, okay, I'm going to go out and I'm going to approach 35 girls, and then at least one of them should like me, right? And then they go out and they're like, hey, hi, I'm me. Who are you? Oh, yeah. And then they approach, and then they're like, everybody hates me. I got rejected so many times. I must not be lovable, right? And that's not true, right? It's more true that you are incompatible, or more likely that your approach and the way that you used your words and your micro expressions and your body language when you were approaching was incompatible with whatever she was perceiving, right? It's actually not like they're rejecting you, right? And your identity and everything you are. They're rejecting how you approached or how they perceived your approach, right? Which is all sort of like, oh yeah, you can fucking reframe it all you want, Coach Duke. I still get fucking scared when people reject me and I feel like shit. Yeah, but the more self-aware you are and understanding that you are different than everybody else, when those differences get highlighted and you realize that they're not compatible with you in that way, it's a lot easier to be resilient against that kind of rejection because you're not generalizing it. You're not being like, oh, I get rejected by every single girl, so nobody loves me, so I must not be lovable. You don't have to make that distinction, right? You can be like, okay, well, that approach got rejected by all these different people, but those different people didn't see eye to eye with me on this kind of thing, right? When you stop objectifying the people that you're approaching and being like, okay, well, girls like when guys are strong and masculine, so I'm going to roll in all fucking masculine. Girls like stoic men, so I'm going to act all stoic. Girls like guys who are loud and bombastic, so I'm going to be loud and bombastic, right? It's like you're othering like girls when every single one of them is a human that has their own innate traits, their own personality types, their own futures that they hope for, their own dreams, and all this stuff that if you're not curious enough to figure out what makes them specific and bang that up against what makes you specific, then you're not going to find compatibility and you're just going to be like swimming out in the dating pool, bumping into other people and not without really knowing who they are. Sometimes you get to know who somebody is and you are sorely disappointed, and sometimes you're pleasantly surprised. But if you don't seek it out, and that comes from self-awareness, like knowing who you are so that you can have a stable place to judge from. If you don't seek it out, you'll never know. And then you just sort of are dating or fucking or hooking up with the person that you're projecting them to be, which is always a big fucking letdown later on for both of you. So building emotional resilience by being more specific about who you are and how you interact with people in the world. It's more of like a treasure hunt to go dating. It's like you are, this is me and here's my little traits, and then I'm going to go out and find somebody who dovetails with that stuff, and then we're going to have a grand old time. Like that's actually more what dating, like healthy dating or fun dating is than okay, I'm going to go out and I'm going to try to get laid, or I'm going to try to get this girl, or I'm going to try to make her my girlfriend, or I'm going to try to get her out on a date, all this stuff, like all these goals that are making them an object that you have to conquer is it doesn't serve you on the mental plane. I mean, there are definitely girls like to be taken, right? But like that's a different thing. I'll talk about that way later. First off, you should be trying to get to know that person and evaluate whether they fit in your life. If you have standards and fucking values, and being self-aware of those things helps you with that selection process. And then number 4, the way that self-awareness can help prepare you for healthy dating is that it creates meaningful connections. When you do finally connect with somebody, it allows you to be you. And you're not constantly trying to fucking impression manage and figure out like who you have to be to make this person like you, or make this person give you what you want, or make this person, all that stuff, right? Because you've already kind of filtered them through. It's like, is this the kind of person that enjoys my fucking company in the first place? And do I enjoy her company in the fucking first place? And if we don't enjoy each other, why the fuck are we doing this shit? Like, but if you do that filtration, you go out on a date and you're like, okay, this is the way I look at the world. These are things that I find hilarious, and these are the whatever. What about for you? Like, what's your biggest emotional event? Like, how do you respond when people do this? And you try to figure out who they are, and they figure out who you are because of the way that you're storytelling and the way that you're talking. And then you guys click on that level. Then your connection is real, right? You can connect on an emotional level, not just like a logical, like, does this line work? Does this frame work? But more like, you're sharing as humans on the emotional level. You can still do power dynamics, and you can still be guarded, and you can still, not have to fully be super invested or enmeshed with each other to have intimacy. Like, you don't have to, like, I'm not trying to be like, be a good boy and fully connect and fully try to understand your woman. That's not what I'm talking about. But what I mean is, when you know who you are, and then you put that out there kind of fearlessly, and then she responds to who she is, when you connect, it's on a different level. Even if you're not compatible, like, for your relationship goals or whatever into the future, you can respect each other at that point and share a thing that is a lot more fun, no matter how long it is, right? Whether you hook it up for the night, or whether you do a little situationship for a while, or you end up getting married or whatever. Like, you are going to have a better time with somebody that you've correctly communicated who you are to. They evaluated and they accepted that, and then vice versa. And if you share your true interests and your true values, rather than sort of trying to construct a narrative that they're going to accept, then your acceptance is real. And even when it diverges later, if you guys move on different paths, you can still respect each other on that way. And so that makes your dating life a lot healthier, and it makes your breakups a lot easier to recover from, because you're like, ah, we just didn't see eye to eye, and it sucks. Like, the loss hurts, but, like, I don't feel like they they're like mortal enemies of me now. I can still go to the bar and we can be fucking adults when I see her again. So yeah, so those are the four ways that self-awareness can prepare you for healthy dating. You recognize your red flags early, your incompatibilities, and the ways that you don't connect. You attract the right kind of people because you're putting who you are out there, because you know who you are. That's the self-awareness part. And then you're building emotional resilience because you're able to see rejection for what it is. You're able to see situations and drama for what it is. It's mostly incompatibility and misunderstandings, communication breakdowns between people. It's not really like you don't have to go fucking self-abuse because you're not getting accepted by everybody. And then number four, you create meaningful connections because you're able to communicate on an emotional level. So that was my video for the day. I will see you guys tomorrow. If you like this shit, hit the subscribe, hit the little bell. It'll give you the notification of the next video that's coming in about 24 hours. I will see you guys tomorrow. And until then, stay awesome.